All right. Enter the video, let people in. Welcome, folks. We begin today a new mimer, a new Hasidic discourse. Said in 1989 on the eve of Shavuos. So begins with the beginning of the Ten Commandments. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, asher Yitzeisecha me'eretz Mitzrayim. I am Hashem, your God, that has taken you out of the land of Egypt. This, of course, is the first pasuk, the first verse, the first statement of the Ten Commandments that were given Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai on the 6th of Sivan. And this was after the Jewish people prefaced and said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will understand, which is, of course, the opposite of the human condition. Human condition is you only accept that which you understand, that which you like. But here, the Jewish people accepted and then will understand. That was the day before, on the 5th of Sivan. Now, it's brought by several of the Chabad Rebbes, the famous question that's asked by many Gedolei Israel, many of the great sages. And the question is that God's saying that I am, right? And who is the I am of God? The one that took you out of Egypt. As opposed to the one who created heaven and earth, which is far greater wonderment than taking you out of Egypt. That even though going out of Egypt, there were many a miracle, no doubt, but that's not a sufficient explanation to say that that's why God introduces himself to the entire Jewish people. I am the Lord your God, took you out of Egypt. That's not sufficient. Sorry. Right, to say that because of the miracles. Because before the giving of the Torah and before going out of Egypt and after going out of Egypt, there were also many miracles that were done. And furthermore, what's a miracle? A miracle is only changing yesh miyesh, something to something else. Water has a tendency to flow, and by the splitting of the sea, a strong wind came and changed its tendency to flow, that now it stood like a wall. Okay, miraculous, right? Exactly when the Jews needed it. They were saved and the Egyptians were drowned, However you want to see that, obviously God was in control. That's a miracle. It shows that God is in control. But in actual fact, in actual fact, this is a change of yesh miyesh, something from something, as opposed to creation of heaven and earth. Heaven and earth is yesh miyayin, meaning something from nothing, right? Something from nothing. Now, in addition to the fact that that is a much greater wonderment, right? To create something from nothing. Now, maybe to the naked eye, it's not so. But, excuse me, I need David's coffee, and it ain't here. So, in addition to the fact that it's a greater wonderment, right? Something from nothing, starting with nothing, and then you have a something, right? Um, but the power to do that, something from nothing, is a greater power than a power of a miracle. Sounds maybe a little counterintuitive. Like a miracle seems like, yeah, no. A miracle, remember, is only changing, for example, water that flows, and now water is standing, but it's still water, it's still a something. It changed it for a quality, one quality to another quality. But yesh miyayi, and right, so the power to do that isn't so great, but the godly power to create something from nothing is much greater, as is known, brought down in Tanya. Um, and that is that the power to do that, to create something from nothing, only comes from Atzmos, from the essence of God, that which his being is of his own. In other words, it wasn't a being that prefaced him. Nothing prefaced him. His being is of his own, as opposed to my being or anything. There was something that prefaced it, right? My parents prefaced me being this Kleenex box. Something prefaced it. Um, Wood from a tree, right? Paper. Hmm. Paper comes from something. That something came from something. That something came all the way to back to God. That doesn't come from something. He is no thing, and therefore not a thing. His being therefore comes from his own, of his own. And we can say that the fact of that there is a yesha nivra, there is a something of a creation. And the only reason that it is something is because it comes from the essence of God, who is what we call yesh hamiti, the real thing. Right? Because we are something, but not a real thing. Because God is the only real thing, because he's the only thing that really is, really was, really is, and really will be. But, this Kleenex box, it's going to get thrown in the garbage once it's finished. It's going to be crushed and it's going to become something else. So it's not really, is this really a Kleenex box? No. In the moment, it is. But is it really? No, because before it wasn't, and afterwards it won't be. So it's not real. It's temporarily as such, but yet it is something. And the only reason it is a something because it comes from the real thing, God. All of that to ask the question, wow. So when you're saying the I am of the Ten Commandments, so the I am of the I am of this world, that it exists, that it's, that it's something, comes from the real thing, God. So if you're introducing yourself, God, to the Jewish people, right? All the Jewish people are at the foot of Mount Sinai, not just physically, but all our souls were there at the foot of Mount Sinai for all future generations, including those who would convert. So if you're introducing yourself, the I am of God, why would it be that I took you out of Egypt? Yeah, it's a miracle. A miracle is only changing something to something. The miracle of creation itself is much greater. It comes from a greater place. It comes from the essence of God. And Anochi means I am. The I am of God is introduce yourself as creator that creates a world. And we can add to that why it should say creator of heaven and earth. Is because there's an inherent connection between the giving of the Torah and creation. In other words, as opposed to taking us out of Egypt, right? This is all in the question, right? Important. This is all in the question. I'm going to just state the question today. Just make sure that we have a clarity. That there's an inherent connection between Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, and God as creator, because God as creator is something that is he's recreating everything, something from nothing, every moment. This Kleenex box to be something is coming from I am from nothingness of God, the essence of from the essence of God. Every moment he's recreating it. In other words, this was not created as as former creation. It's former creation. It's former. God set that into motion and it's going on its own. It's not God's recreating it every moment. As the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, as forever your word is standing in heaven, as we will start soon, the second part of Tanya, that will go into great length in explaining that the power of the creator has to be constantly within creation in order for it to exist. Right? Otherwise, because it's not a real thing, so it's only because the real thing is in it that it exists, right? Um, so this power of God has to be constantly within. And as we said, this is the power of the essence of God that can do that. No creature, nothing can do that. Can from no thing make something. We can just take from something and change its form. We could take silver and make it malleable, that we could form it into a goblet, right? And that goblet then becomes independent of me after I make it. The not so creation. Every moment, God is creating something from nothing, from God, from the essence of God Himself. Well, in a similar way, so is Torah. It's also given from the essence of God, right? And it is an expression of the essence of God. Anochi, that's what it says. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I'm the Lord your God. It's drawing down from, and it's coming to us every moment. As we say in the morning blessings, just a reminder, say your morning blessings before we learn Torah. As it says in the morning blessings, the God is the giver of the Torah. And we say it in present tense. We don't say it in Nasan HaTorah, which means he gave the Torah. But it's Noisein Torah, he gives the Torah. In other words, he's giving it to us right now, right? And therefore, our sages tell us that when you learn Torah, it should be in your eyes like God's giving it to you now. And it should be literally new, fresh, alive, right? So we have a parallel over here between God as creator and God as giver of the Torah. God as creator, he's creating the world every single moment. God as the giver of the Torah, he's also giving it every moment. And therefore we should perceive it something from nothing. We should not. Therefore, we should perceive creation as God's recreating it at every moment. We should perceive the Torah that we're learning, that God's giving it now, and therefore it's new, it's fresh. Even if you learned it and you've learned it many times, right? As the sages in times of the Talmud would learn, the oral teachings 100 times. Each time it needs to be new and fresh because God is giving the Torah. He didn't give it. Rather, he gives the Torah in present tense. So there's a linkage between then the Torah and creation. Both are constant, and both are coming from the essence of God. So it would make sense that God is introducing himself to the Jewish people, that he should introduce himself as creator of heaven and earth. More of that to come. Now, I won't be able to give a class of Chumash and Tanya. I will. I don't know if I'll be able to give it on all channels or it'll just be on my YouTube station. So I have a bris that I have to go to. So I'll keep you posted. Okay, thank you, folks.